Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Return Missionary Next Chapter podcast. I'm your host, Sid Bassett. Today, we're honored to welcome Kendal Levine, whose story first caught my attention in September of 2014 when news broke of a missionary in Australia who was struck by a taxi driver who had fallen asleep at the wheel. It was a story that stopped many of us in our tracks. What followed was a journey defined by tragedy and faith, but most of all by sheer perseverance. Kendall went from being a competitive multi-sport athlete to a woman who had to fight for the ability to walk and talk all over again. This near-death experience did more than change her path. It shaped the very core of who she is today. I followed her recovery for years through her mother's Facebook updates on the Friends of Sister Kendal Levine page. And our paths finally crossed a few years ago in Hawaii when she spent an hour inspiring our missionaries. Through firesides and speaking engagements across the world, she has shared a message of faith, perseverance, and forgiveness. We are truly blessed to have her here with us today to share that same light and resilience with us. Hello, Kendall. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, we're also honored to have with us, next to her side, Preston Ward. Is that it, Preston?
That is correct.
He's her physical therapist, and he's there in support of her, so we may hear from him as we go through this. All right, Kendall, let's get started. Now, before your mission, what was your life like sort of before you decided to go serve in the Church of Christ of Latter-day Saints? You multi-sport athlete, I understand. You even had some scholarships for school. So what was life like for you?
So I absolutely loved sports. Made it my goal to play college basketball. And so I worked so hard every single day. And my senior year of high school, I was offered a full ride basketball scholarship to Casper College in Casper, Wyoming. And I was just so excited that my dreams were coming true. I was becoming a college basketball player. I thought so.
Yeah, the things seem to take a different turn for you. I'm curious, were you always interested in serving a mission? Was that always part of your plan?
I always did want to serve a mission. But back when I was younger, sister missionaries could only serve when they were 21. And so I thought that I'd be married or moved on by then. But sure enough, that didn't happen. and and then President Mawson to the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, he announced that sister missionaries can now serve missions at the age of 19. And I knew right then and there that I was supposed to serve a mission because basketball wasn't happening the way that I expected it to. So I just was very unhappy there on the basketball team. And when President Ross announced that a change for missionaries, like I said, I knew straight away, like, that's what I need to do. Serve mission instead. So I gave back
I
my
love that.
scholarship the following year.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, you certainly are an inspiration, and I know that's a difficult decision for most athletes. You know, do we put things on pause or do we continue on? So you were called, I guess you were called to Australia's Sydney South mission.
Yeah.
And so tell us about the mission experience. I mean, before the accident, you were there for a year. So tell the listeners about that experience for you.
Well, when I finally got to Australia, hold on, back up a little bit. So I opened my mission call in April, beginning of April. And I wasn't supposed to report to the MTC until the end of August. So that's like a whole lifetime of waiting. And so I was just very annoyed. But I got to the point where I'm just like, you know what? God is sending me when He needs me there. And so I just worked throughout the summer to prepare for the time that I was able to get to the MTC and eventually get to Australia. So I get to Australia, and I just expected everyone to listen to me because, I'm Kendal Levine. And I expected everyone to listen to our message, but not a single person would ever open their heart to listen to us. Doors just on my face every single day. I just was happy or having fun. I thought missions are supposed to be fun, right? But I wasn't happy or having fun, like I said. And so it got to the point that I got down on my knees and I begged Heavenly Father for a new experience that I would do anything he needed me to do as long as I was happy doing it. And so since I told God that I would do whatever he wanted me to do, he definitely took that to heart. Because of the next transfer, I was then called to train a brand new sister missionary to open up a brand new area. How was I supposed to train a missionary in an area that I did not even know? So I was kind of scared. But as I put forth the effort to do what the Lord needed me to do, he made things happen for me, opening up this area and training this new sister missionary. And I think to this day, that area is like booming with work. And, and like all missions, I don't know. I think all missionaries either that are excited to serve in that area or they're scared to serve in that area because it's just like like the area to serve in.
I love that. Just hearing you talk, Kendall, you can just feel the presence of God in your life and your desire to follow those promptings. And that takes a lot of courage. And obviously, it's something that has started in you probably since you were young because it seems to flow so naturally from you. I'm curious as we go backwards, you know, did you see ways you were being prepared in some way for what was to come in your on your mission?
Yeah, so in my first area, there's this one week where we hosted mini missionaries, where some of the youth came and stayed with us during the week, and so that they would learn how missionaries live and how they what they do as missionaries. And that week was just so stressful for me because I had to take care of my companion that I was training, then take then control like these younger missionaries that we were teaching. So I was very stressed out, but I knew by the end of the week that God is preparing something for me. I didn't know what, but he's a smart dude, so he made something happen.
He's a smart. I love that. Very real. So, for those who don't know, being a trainer is one of the most entrusted positions on a mission. You get somebody straight out of the MTC, doesn't know exactly what's going on. And so, for the mission leader to entrust you, obviously you were doing very well. And that's exciting. But as you said, it also, you're not sure exactly what's going on, but you kind of follow those promptings. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. It's very vulnerable. Now let's move on to the accident itself. I mean, this is well publicized. If you want to search Kindle out online, you'll see all kinds of information on the accident. Some true, some not so true. I just found out. But we'd love to hear from you about that day. I know it was a bit of a blur for you. So do you mind sharing with the listeners sort of what happened on that fateful day?
Yes, well, I don't remember anything about it because of what happened. Anyways, s- shares is they're supposed to double book every hour of the day. They have a daily plan and a backup plan if those plans fall through. And at 4:30 in the afternoon on September 5th, 14, we had nothing as a daily plan. So we had district training meeting that morning, and we didn't really have a meeting to get to afterwards. And we were driving down the road, and I saw a double rainbow, and I wanted to take a picture of it. So we pull into this small neighborhood and pull off 15 feet off the road behind some trees. Mind you, 15 feet off the road behind trees. And I get out and I step forward to take this picture. And the lady that lives straight across the street, she saw me pull up and get out and take the picture, but turned her back as I was getting back into my car, which is a good thing. You'll understand why. Because when I was getting back into my car, another driver had fallen asleep at the wheel at about 50 yards back, and his car drifts off the side of the road exactly to where I was at, between my car and a tree. If he had been 6 inches to the right, he would have hit the tree and not me.
Mm.
But it needs to happen that way. So he ended up hitting me, throwing me 30 feet forward and driving over top of me. And like I said, it was a good thing that the lady turned around so she didn't have to witness what was going to happen. But she did hear the crushing metal between the two cars because the other car tore off my car door because I was stepping inside it. And so she turned around to see what the heck had just happened. There's now a car there. I I wasn't there anymore, so I just been hit. And so she screams. Of course you're gonna scream when you see a freak accident, right?
Mhm.
And her son downstairs hear the crushing metal too as well. Mi- Crushing metal as well. But just saw us pots and the pans in the kitchen. But what do you do when you hear your mom scream? Something's more intense, right?
Yeah.
So he books her upstairs where she was at, and she's pointing across the street to where I was. So he runs over to me, sees me underneath the car, and I wasn't breathing. Bump was on my chest. He's like, if I don't get to call this girl, she's going to die. So he runs back to his house and grabs a car jack. Who owns car jacks? No one. It's a hydraulic car jack for that matter. So he gets this car jack, brings it back up to me, jacks up the car, rolls me out. I throw up and I start to breathe. Then he held me for about 10 minutes until the ambulance got there. And he was supposed to leave. He was supposed to leave about half hour prior to go to the gym with his buddies, but he was just taking a sweet time. But if he had gone to the gym with his buddies when he needed to, he wouldn't have been able to be there to save my life. So God put him there for a purpose, made him late to the gym on purpose, and that's it. That's
Yeah, wow. I mean, you're right. I don't think I've ever thought to have a jack in my car, actually, my whole life. And that he was there late, kind of going at his own pace, and he was there to rescue you did feel like a divine plan. And you've met this man, right?
yeah.
Is that true? Did you get back to Australia to meet him, I think? Or maybe he came to the US, I can't remember which.
He came out to the U.S. because he was on Random Matt's episode on TV, and so
Right.
they took me to a jazz game. I didn't know what was going on, and they surprised me meeting him at the jazz game. Um, yeah, so that's when I first met him, and the Jazz won, so that's good.
Hey, even better. Go Jazz. I like that. Well, so you did say you did not remember much of what happened. When do you consciously, cognitively remember where you were and the seriousness of what had happened?
I don't really know how to answer that because I wrote my mission journal every single day and go back 2 weeks before the accident. And I don't remember what I had written down. I don't remember the experiences that I had on that paper, but they happened because I wrote it down. And so I don't remember about 2 weeks before the accident and about 5 to 6 months after the accident when I was in the hospital. So I don't remember the first time that I came to after my coma phase, but just my
Wow.
body was very, very skiwampus. I was very confused. I had zero muscle. Yeah, until my brain was just very, very confused.
That's really quite a um, tribute to yourself, who did write those things down, and to your mother, who, while you were sleeping, so to speak, you were able to go back and relive all those days because she did a pretty good job of outlining what was going on during that time. So it's amazing that sort of those 5 or 6 months of your life became such a blur to you. I'm curious that then after that time and you realized the obstacles that stood in your way, what were some of the biggest physical and or mental obstacles that you faced in that recovery process?
Well, it was very frustrating because, like, I thought I knew how to walk. I thought I knew how to do things physically, but my brain was just confused, and so it was very frustrating that I couldn't get up and move on my own. But I do remember this one time I had a dream. It was April 5th of 2018. I don't remember the year, but I had a dream that I was walking,
Mm.
and I told my parents, I'm like, I'm gonna be walking on April 5th. But I wake up and I wasn't walking. I couldn't walk at all. So I was very frustrated, very down. Then my mom, she just like comes up to me. She's like, Kendall, the day's not over yet. You still got all day. And that day was actually general conference as well. And I was able to go to general conference. And I took a handful of friends with me. And during one of the intermediate hymns, we were to stand up and sing with the choir. And so I had friends on each side of me, and they helped me stand up, give me balance and everything. And so I thought that they were holding all my weight, but afterwards they're just like they thought the other was holding most of my weight. So pretty much I was holding all the weight on my own. And so that was proof that my dream, I was blessed with the strength to be able to stand up on my own and do that. Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. And I'm certain there are just angels surrounding you all the time, trying to help you along your journey of recovery. And so, I think there was a time when there were many doctors who thought you wouldn't walk again, actually. So the fact that you were standing on your own without the support of your friends by your side, and then now subsequently walking, which I've seen you do in person. So I know you know how to do it. That's quite a miracle, isn't it, in your life?
Yes. But I do fall
You
down every single day. It's like it's
what's that?
expected. I fall down every single day. It's expected.
Yeah.
When people see me fall down in public, they like freak out that this girl just fell down. I'm like, guys, it's fine. Happens every day. I'm used to it. I've learned how to fall to not break something more else.
Oh my goodness. It is interesting because you told me that when we were on the phone in Hawaii, and so I let people know that before you came in. I said, "She may fall. These are adult falls now. She's not a child anymore." But, she said it's okay. So, thankfully you didn't fall. We were a little worried at that point, but it is great that you were able now to bounce back from the many falls that you've had. So now as we fast forward just a little bit, you've gone through a lot. Obviously, you have done a lot of inspiring firesides, and you've been interviewed by many people, actually. I'm curious, what is it about all these interviews and conversations you have that you really want people to know about your story? Because it will never be forgotten, right? You're going to be remembered forever in the hearts of people like myself who were really touched by, especially your mother who took so much time to care for you during that time. What do you want people to know about your story that we need to be sure to talk about?
The man who saved me, he had just learned a first responders course about a couple weeks prior, and so he knew exactly what to do when he saw me underneath the car. So he was definitely prepared to take on what was going to happen to me that day. Another thing that is just so crazy about this whole story is I was hit by a 4,000 pound car going 35 miles an hour, and you would think that I'd be shattered, broken piece of glass. I would just be broken bones. But would you believe me if I said that nothing broke? I had no physical damage except one little tiny scratch on my knuckle, and I just had a giant bruise on my left side from the car hitting me. And I owe that all to my Savior Jesus Christ, because He took all the pain for me with the broken bones. It doesn't even make sense to me, but it makes sense to Jesus. And but because the car hit me and my skull shattered His windshield, my brain shook so violently in my skull that I lost all connections between the two hemispheres of my brain. So I've just been having to relearn how to do everything, get all those connections back in my brain.
Honestly, that is probably the best answer one could offer because you realize that there's no magical formula to happiness or joy. It's just you've got to take each challenge at a time. I was very inspired by your mother. Do you mind just sort of talking about how your family showed up for you? Because during that time of recovery, there was probably a lot of times when you needed support along the way. Do you mind talking about your family and their support?
Yes. So 6 months into my mission, my parents had moved to Hawaii because my brother was going to school at BYU Hawaii. So why not move to the island, right? They didn't have any more kids at home. And so they thought they were going to be there for a long time. But I call it the their calm before the storm. So, because 6 months into my mission, they moved there and they get the call to get the news of my accident. And then they ended up, that's a whole nother story. But they were able to come down to Australia to see me a week later. No, like 3 days later, through the help of God, getting them there. and they just had to put their lives on hold to be able to come down to Australia to get me. And then when I was finally stable enough to fly home to Hawaii, the neurologist, he looked at my brain scans and he immediately told my parents that I would just be a girl in the bed for the rest of my life. I wouldn't walk, talk, eat, go back to school, nothing. So every time he came into my hospital room, he was just so negative towards them about me. And then they ended up kicking him out, saying, "Don't come back." I I don't something like that. And then if my parents were able to get me to follow one command, then I would be accepted to the mainland for rehab. And so they would try to get me to do anything. Move your hand, move your finger. They would show me pictures of my friends and family, but nothing was clicking. And when I was in a coma, my arms were contracting, and my hand was on my hand. I had a balloon full of flour, so I wouldn't claw the heck out of my hand. And this one night, I was sitting like this. My mom, she said, "Kendall, turn your hand around and throw that ball." And so, being an athlete, what do I do when I'm told to throw the ball? I turn my hand and I throw that ball. It didn't go far, but I followed that command because that was just so ingrained in my brain. So I followed that command every single time that my parents told me to do it. But the nurses, they didn't believe that it was voluntary, even though I did it every single time. And so my parents were just hoping for something else to come up. I'd do something else that was cool. And my mom, she was going through my luggage and she found my retainer. She's like, she hasn't worn her retainer for about a month. She can at least have some pretty teeth, sitting in a coma. And so she pops my retainer into my mouth on my teeth. After some time, I reach up, grab my retainer from my teeth, click it off, and hand it right back to her. And so that proved that I could feel the pain, and I could do something about it. And so since I did that, I was then offered a room at the University of Utah Hospital for rehab. And then that's where the hospital began.
How many physical therapists have you been through? I've seen a few over the years. You've been through a bit, haven't you?
Well, just a lot. I don't even know how
Well
many.
well, Preston is somewhere out there listening, and we're glad to have him there in that support role. So just a couple more questions for you, Kendall, and then I'll let you get on. I think you have your PT session right now after this, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So just a couple more questions. There was this story of forgiveness that I think that the listeners need to hear, and that is of the taxi driver who, after a long shift, was very tired, who was the unfortunate one who hit you. Could you tell us about that sort of story of forgiveness? Because I know there are many who wouldn't forgive anyone associated with this, including God. And yet you've been all about forgiveness, and that's kind of part of the legacy of your story. Could you speak to that for us?
Yeah, for sure. So at first, like I was very mad when I was first coming out of it. So I was just mad at this guy. But then over time, I'm just like, you know what? It was an accident. He fell asleep at the wheel. I'm not saying it's okay to drive drowsy, but it happens with everyone. And if he didn't fall asleep and hit me, like, he would have found out about his sleep apnea and some other way. And so it got to a point where I'm just like, you know what? He's a man too. He has a life. He had a kid at the time. I didn't want him to harbor that guilt forever. And so when we went back to Australia in 2019, he spoiled the heck out of me, which I'm grateful for. But I'm like, I don't want him to do that because he's a man as well. But anyways, after lunch this one day, he was walking me to the car, and I stopped him and I said, I need you to know that I hold zero hard feelings towards you." And then he stopped and he looked at me and said, "Thank you, Kendall. I really need to hear that."
Hmm.
So if
Wow.
anything, I went back to Australia to tell this man that I had forgiven him and that he can move on with his life. Even though I still struggle every single day through this injury, it's fine. Well, it's not fine, but there's nothing I can do about it. But I could forgive him because he was copped with a fine for causing this happening. And like, I didn't want him to have feel any more guilt about it. So there's that.
Wow, Kendall, just I've heard that before. I just get goosebumps. It's an emotional thing because in a world where we are quick not to forgive, not to extend a hand of mercy, to hear the story from you again is just a beautiful thing. And it is an example to us all. We won't experience things quite as dramatic as you have, but yet sometimes we have to remind ourselves they're just people and they're just trying their best. And I think that example is wonderful. Well, thank you for that. I guess I should offer up Preston a chance to say hello. He's now on the spotlight. Preston, what could you say about your favorite client,
Exactly.
Kendall
She is
Levine?
she is my favorite client, and I think even our stories are kind of interesting how we've met and everything because my wife was working at the church, or she works for the church at the time, and I think she heard the story, and then she went to one of your firesides, and they kind of stayed in contact and got you in touch with some general conference tickets or something like that. And so even like our family's connected way before I've been working with her. But I think what inspires me a lot, a few things that she said that as a physical therapist, you like no or can't is never the answer. And we are, as a profession and myself, I'd say, always trying to look for whatever options we can for our patients. And for Kendall, she struggles every single day. She falls every single day, but it's never a I'm not going to work out today. I'm not going to exercise today. Like she puts forth the work every single day. And I think that comes from her family. It comes from her drive and passion for being an athlete. But I think also really comes down to just her love and testimony of the Savior Jesus Christ because sh in everything she does, she has the just the strongest aura, the strongest spirit about her, and she works really hard. And I think for whatever reason, we don't know why
Mhm.
this necessarily happened, but and we talk about that a lot of times in our therapy sessions of like, we don't know why this happened, but Kendall, let's figure out a way for you to drive. Let's figure out a way for you to swim, climb stairs, jump, run, whatever it is. And there's a lot of those things we're still working on, but she doesn't give up. And I think that's just her love and her love for her savior, her love for God. And the forgiveness is a huge thing, but she just recognizes the bigger picture, and it's not easy all the time, but she's an amazing person. I feel very lucky, blessed, and I don't know why that I uh have the opportunity to work with her. And I think back to again our stories of like, yeah, I think she's here to teach me something. She thinks she teaches us all something every single day, but she's a very powerful, remarkable person.
That's
Wow,
very kind.
Preston, thank you.
Thank you.
That that was beautiful. And honestly, it is that there is no no and there is no can't in your profession that helps a lot of us. I'm just recovering from an ACL
Yeah.
surgery and my
Yeah.
PT has been very helpful to me. But I love the way you see the bigger picture in her life. Kendall, that is an example to all of us because we all feel that same way about you. Your mission, your life has taken a different turn than you expected, but it's blessed the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. And so your mission is a little bit unique. I'm curious as we close, what would you say about your mission experience and how it has changed you? I know that's a big question given all that's happened. This is a podcast about Return Missionary Next Chapters. So, what would you offer to our listeners about what a mission has taught you and perhaps how a mission has changed in your mind and how you view a mission?
That's a hard question because like I didn't return home as a missionary like normal. Like there's a normal way, but since I've had this accident, I've been able to give firesides to youth, to girls' camps, and I was able to speak for Time Out for Girls in 2018? I think 2018. And so that's how my missionary work has continued. My mission in Australia was cut short of 6 months, but my mission since then has been able to expand all over through my firesides and being able to speak to others about this story.
I love that. Kendall, you're an inspiration. You're one of my heroes. Thank you for taking time with us today, and good luck on your PT session there with Preston. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed today's program. It is our sincere hope that you gain insights from these lived experiences of disciples of Jesus Christ as you navigate your next chapters in life. We look forward to having you join us each week for the unfolding chapters of our guest. Remember to follow us on Instagram at rmnextchapters. Also, you can visit us on our website at rmnextchapters.com, where you can listen to each podcast or link to your favorite podcasting platform. As always, if you have any thoughts or feedback, we'd love to hear it. Please send it to rmnextchapters@gmail.com. See you soon.